At a recent rally in Wisconsin, Donald Trump bragged about being a, quote, tariff president.
We're going to be a tariff nation. It's not going to be a cost to you. It's going to be a cost to another country.
Trump talks about tariffs so much, he was asked about it at his recent debate against Vice President Kamala Harris.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
Economists say tariffs are a kind of trade barrier, raising the cost of foreign products to make them more expensive than domestic goods, with the goal of helping U.S. manufacturers and workers. As president, Trump imposed tariffs on countries the U.S. purchased steel and aluminum from.
About time, right?
And then slapped them on almost half of all imports from China. Now, he's floating a 10% tariff on all U.S. imports and even higher levies on products from China. Trump argues his tariffs made the U.S. billions, but experts say, in large part, it ended up costing Americans.
The price of the product, once it passed through the customs shed in the U.S., went up because of the tariffs. And it was almost a one-for-one up.
Economists say Trump refuses to acknowledge that when tariffs are imposed, American consumers usually end up paying more.
Is there any scenario that you see, just as an expert in this field, where what Trump is proposing doing would help lower costs for everyday Americans?
No.
Tom Fullerton teaches economics at the University of Texas at El Paso.
Does it seem, based on how Trump talks about tariffs, that he understands how they work?
No.
Like Trump, Fullerton studied economics at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business.
When I hear that Donald Trump has said things like this, as a fellow Wharton alumnus, I wonder what he was doing in his economics classes.
The Trump campaign points out President Joe Biden and Vice President Harris kept most of Trump's tariffs, with the shared goal of squeezing countries like China, which makes low-cost goods, often with government assistance. Harris's campaign platform includes keeping most of them. Fullerton says even though the data shows tariffs generally translate to higher costs for Americans, politicians from both parties embrace them.
From a political perspective, import tariffs are very popular, because so many people are suspicious of international trade and do not understand it.
But he says Trump's new plan to impose high tariffs across the board could lead to job loss and even a recession.
The Harris campaign seems to understand a little bit more about international trade than the Trump campaign does.
Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, recently went on CNBC to defend the former president's tariff plan, arguing the good outweighed the bad when Trump was in office.
So when people say you can't do this in a narrow way, you can't do it in a broad-based way, I just think that doesn't actually fit with reality.
In Washington, Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.